an international exposé on the importation of beagles that Camp Beagle coordinated and launched last summer. We had some information that indicating that beagles were being imported into the UK via Copenhagen Airport. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Sole, as she's just told us, and I have been part of Camp Beagle for the past 3 years. Today, I aim to explain how our campaign has engaged with international collaborations with other antivivisection groups and the benefits that these collaborations have brought to the overall fight against animal testing. However, before I dive into this specific topic, I would like to introduce you to Camp Beagle. This is very fancy. Camp Beagle is the longest running animal rights protest camp. We are physically camped outside MBR Acres, a dog breeding factory supplying over 2,000 beagle puppies to UK laboratories. The camp started in the summer of 2021, and since then it has been running 24/7, working tirelessly in an exposure and pressure campaign to close down MBR Acres. We often refer to our campaign as the Camp Beagle Project, because the birth of the camp was not an organized plan arranged by a group of activists with a clear strategy. The camp is an ongoing organic expression of people's compassion towards the beagles suffering inside MBR. The site was taken over in 2017 by MBR Acres, but beagles have been bred at this place for 50 years. Camp Beagle is the latest link in a long chain of protests that have been taking place there for 3 decades. We are honored to stand on the shoulder of people who risked their freedom to liberate dogs in the 1990s and on the shoulders of everyone who has ever protested at this site. A UK group called Free the MBR Beagles conducted an investigation using cameras hiding around the perimeter of the site. They captured images of the dogs being moved from one shed to another for the first time. And in June 2021, their investigation was published by one of the main national newspapers in the UK. The images caused a public outcry, and as a result, more people joined the regular demonstrations at MBR. After one of these demos, 2 women decided to stay the night in their cars. The next day, someone else joined, and more people came 2 days later, and then more people joined, and more. It was incredibly fast. In just a few days, a makeup shift of pop-up tents and gazebos was established. The positive aspect of this spontaneous and planned camp was feeling the passion, the initiative, the generosity, and the motivation of everyone who made it happen. The challenging aspect is that we were working without a plan, without a strategy, with no clear common goals, with no decision-making processes in place. And let me tell you, this is a big challenge, particularly when you are living together in precarious conditions on the side of a road. So I am proud that beside all these obstacles and challenges, Camp Beagle is now a well-established protest camp. I would like to clarify that all the work that has been put in place to develop the Camp Beagle project come from grassroots volunteers. No one has ever been paid, and no one receives salaries. Camp Beagle is located right outside the gates of hell, as we call the only point of entry to MBR acres. We are on a narrow stretch of grass sandwiched between a small but very busy countryside road and the beagle breeding facilities right behind us. We now have 3 large army tents, including a fully equipped vegan kitchen. We have 2 large solar panels and a generator for electricity, and a 1,000-liter container to run 1 water tap. In the winter, we keep warm with gas heaters inside insulated tents. We have a basic shower room built on site and a portaloo toilet that we hire. We have made it as comfortable as it can be on a side of the road, but it's still a very taxing place to be there long term. You can, particularly on people's psychological and emotional well-being. Every day you hear the dogs inside the sheds just meters away from you. You see the same ruthless workers coming in and out with a smile on their faces, and regularly witness the vans that come to take the puppies to the labs. It truly takes a strong and wide network of supporters to keep the Camp Beagle project going. Before I give you an overview of our campaign, I want to explain to you in more detail who is MBR Acres. One behind. It's a large American multinational exclusively dedicated to breeding animals for vivisection. They have breeding facilities in the USA, in France, China, Japan, and of course the UK. They breed ferrets, mice, guinea pigs, mini pigs, cats, and dogs. In the USA, they have a breeding facility for over 23,000 dogs. In France, they have 2 facilities where they breed golden retrievers as well as beagles. In the UK, they breed 3,000 beagles a year for toxicology testing in the most brutal conditions. The beagles are kept inside industrial windowless sheds under a strict regime of 12 hours of artificial light and 12 hours of darkness. The dogs never are allowed outside. They don't know what it's like to sit in the sunshine, to walk on grass, or feel wet from the rain. The dogs, including pregnant beagles, newborn pups, and weaning puppies, are left completely unattended inside lock-up sheds for 16 hours every day, Monday to Friday. On weekends and bank holidays, a tiny team of about 5 workers come for 4 hours checkup, leaving the dogs unattended for 20 hours a day. The dogs are kept in pens with concrete floors covered in feces and sawdust, attempting to soak some of the urine on the floor. There is no bedding, and they have, for enhancement, 1 single toy hanging from a chain. They are so deprived of the most basic welfare requirements that when we put undercover cameras inside the sheds, for only a few minutes, we got evidence of many dogs displaying signs of repetitive pathological behavior, aimlessly pacing up and down the pen, eating each other's feces. To add insult to injury, the UK government has given MBR Acres a license to sell the dog's blood and the dog's organs. They keep a small colony of beagles exclusively for bleeding. According to inspection reports, some of these dogs have been bled over 150 times. Eventually, the dogs are put through a procedure called terminal bleeding, in which every drop of blood is pumped out of their bodies and their internal organs are extracted to be sold for yet more experiments. What I'm trying to convey is that behind these breeding facilities lies a huge multinational, multi-million-pound dollar company with a strong hold in the vivisection industry. When Camp Beagle started, we were not naive about their power. We were very aware that we were David fighting the Goliath. But we also knew that animal testing is outdated, a scientific failure, and the majority of the people detest it because of its cruelty to animals. So how are we fighting this Goliath? We have built a threefold strategy to close down MBR and eventually end animal testing. Uno, we investigate. Having a 24/7 presence at the gate of MBR allows us to closely monitor their operations. We observe, record, research, investigate everything that we see from camp. We have alarms, cameras that are watching those gates 24 hours a day. We regularly fly the drone to see what is happening inside the site and have placed undercover cameras inside of one of the sheds. We obtain valuable tip-offs on our whistleblower phone line and have received testimony and footage from MBR ex-workers. Dos, exposure. The presence of our camp is a constant and direct exposure of their hidden enterprise. We have made films with the undercover footage that we took of the beagles inside the shed, with the images captured by the MBR whistleblower, and with the footage that we regularly take with the drone flying above the site. We also broadcast live on our social media every time the vans come to take the puppies to the labs. And we coordinate a group of volunteers across the country who track the vans to find out which exact laboratories the vans have been taken to. We have built a community of thousands of committed followers on our social media platforms, where we publish daily updates, encourage political lobbying, and promote campaigning actions. We collaborate with many other groups, particularly with groups from other countries. Tres, we build political pressure. Because after all, it is the government and the regulators who have the power to put a final end to this terrible practice. We have run 2 parliamentary petitions and collected over 100,000 signatures for each of them. And therefore, we were granted 2 parliamentary debates. During the last debate, the government finally changed their position. For years, they have been repetitively stating that nothing can be done to end animal testing. They were already doing everything. But in February this year, at our petition debate, they did a U-turn and promised to publish a plan to move away from animal testing. Since then, there has been general elections, and we now have a new government. So we are now working on a new political strategy tailored to the current government. So now I will focus on the importance of these international collaborations, and there are 3 main reasons why I believe they are important for strengthening the anti-vivisection movement as a whole. Animal testing is a global industry fueled by multinational companies of animal breeders, contracting laboratories, and pharmaceutical and chemical companies operating worldwide. A large proportion of the animals used by labs need to be imported. Therefore, animal testing heavily relies on the international trade of live animals. As we have seen, this is the case of MBR Acres, an American multinational based in 5 different countries across 3 continents, importing animals all over the world. There is also an international trade agreement signed by the EU, the USA, the UK, and Japan, regulating and facilitating transnational sales of pharmaceutical drugs. The International Council of Harmonization, if you've never heard of it, it's a terrible institution, has standardized a toxicology protocol requiring that pharmaceutical drugs are tested on 2 mammals, one rodent, a rat or a mice, and a non-rodent, usually dogs, monkeys, rabbits, mini pigs. I don't need to explain to you that using animal models is a complete scientific failure and a fraud. The only reason this international agreement exists is to facilitate the free sale of pharmaceutical drugs. Whenever any of these drugs released into the market cause harm to human beings, the victims can never take a legal action against these companies. The companies have fulfilled the Council's safety requirements by conducting toxicology testing in 2 different mammal species. Breaking away and abandoning this international trade agreement can be better achieved if all the countries that have signed this agreement have a strong opposition to animal testing. In preparation for this talk, I did a recount of all the collaborations we have carried out since Camp Beagle started. And we have worked with 14 antivivisection groups from 12 different countries. In all honesty, we never set up to do an international campaign strategy. It kind of developed and grew through time. And I guess it did because it has proven to be effective, inspiring, and constructive. Today, I only have got time to give you a few examples. One of the first international collaborations we did was with Asamblea Antiespecista de Madrid, a grassroots organization running a campaign to close down Vivotecnia laboratory. In April 2021, there was a huge media expose of undercover images taken inside a toxicology lab in Madrid. Carlota Saorza conducted an undercover investigation for 18 months inside Vivotecnia and captured graphic evidence of laboratory workers hitting, aggressively handling, and humiliating the animals inside that lab. Despite the social indignation caused by the expose, the loud protests in front of Vivotecnia, and even the temporary closure of the laboratory, Vivotecnia has been allowed to continue to operate as if nothing had ever happened. There are ongoing legal proceedings against the lab, and there will be a trial for animal abuse charges. But in the meantime, Spanish public institutions continue to contract Vivotecnia for their animal testing services using taxpayers' money. Members of the Asamblea Antiespecista gave us a presentation on our online international convention. And then a little bit later, I gave a talk about Camp Beagle on an event that they organized in Madrid. And I also attended one of their protests in Madrid. This was the beginning of a collaborative relationship that we have been building on and supporting each other's campaign whenever appropriate. Through this organization, we met Carlota Saorza, the investigator, and she has given us access to invaluable information about toxicology testing protocols, and as well as access to the images of the MBR beagles processed, housed, tested, and killed inside Vivotecnia. We are currently working with them on a new and exciting project of which you will hear more in the near future. The next example illustrates a diversion we took from our single focus campaign to free the MBR beagles. We invited Mansa Devi, founder of the Monkey Massacre Mauritius, to participate in one of our regular Camp Beagle talks. Mauritius is one of the few countries breeding wild-caught long-tailed macaques and exporting over 10,000 of them a year to laboratories in the USA, Canada, Netherlands, Spain, France, and the UK. Long-tailed macaques are now listed by the IUCN as endangered due to the hunting and prosecution that they have suffered from the demand of the animal testing industry, particularly toxicology testing. Monkey Massacre Mauritius campaigns against the export of these monkeys by exposing the air companies transporting them, tracking the flights to their destinations, capturing and sharing images of the monkeys being loaded into the planes, and working with other antivivisection groups in the countries where these monkeys are being exported to. As a result of her talk, many Camp Beagle supporters have now joined the international network of volunteers tracking the final destination of the monkeys exported from Mauritius. Camp Beagle is only 8 kilometers away from the biggest contractor animal testing laboratory in the UK. And on a few occasions, activists have witnessed and broadcast the vans transporting the monkeys from the airports to the labs. Mansa Devi also told us about a recent application to the Mauritian authorities to build a new farm for capacity for 12,000 long-tailed macaques. Monkey Massacre Mauritius joined an international coalition coordinating a very successful campaign which helped to stop the construction of this farm. Camp Beagle supported this international campaign by encouraging our own supporters and followers to sign the petition and to send the automated emails prepared by the coalition. So even this collaboration was not directly related to MBR ACAS, we are very aware how important it is to support other anti-vivisection campaigns, particularly when international pressure can make a difference. We are very proud to have collaborated with groups like Action for Primates and Monkey Massacre Mauritius to fight against the international trade of monkeys for animal testing, because every victory against this global industry is a step closer to ending animal testing everywhere. The third and last example I'm presenting today is about an international exposé on the importation of beagles that Camp Beagle coordinated and launched last summer. We had some information indicating that beagles were being imported into the UK via Copenhagen Airport. So we started to work with a Danish animal rights group and sent freedom of information requests to both British and Danish authorities. To our surprise, we discovered that beagles from the USA were being imported via Copenhagen Airport, not only to the UK, but to 7 other countries in Europe. Camp Beagle unearthed extensive and comprehensive data regarding the importation of 6,070 beagles from the USA to European labs over the past 5 years. We found out where the dogs came from in the USA, the dates of the flights, the air and freight companies involved, how many dogs were in each shipment, and the country and a specific laboratory where the dogs were being delivered to after being processed in Copenhagen Airport. We also learned that all of those dogs had been transported by SAS Airlines in passenger planes, underneath of the passengers. So we decided that this was an important focus of our expose. Initially, many of these 6,000 dogs were being imported from Envigo breeding facilities in Virginia. But in 2021, the authorities closed them down for gross animal welfare violations. All the dogs from then have been imported from Marshall Bioresources in North Rose, New York. At these breeding facilities, over 23,000 dogs live in pens with wire mesh floors with no access to the outdoors. While we analyze all the data on the importation of beagles from the USA, Anima, the Danish group, managed to obtain footage of the dogs being processed inside Copenhagen Airport. We coordinated a synchronized international exposé in 10 countries and worked with antivivisection groups from the European countries where the dogs had been imported: Belgium, France, Netherlands, Italy, Spain, Germany, as well as organizations from the USA, Denmark, and Sweden, as is the headquarters of SAS Airlines. We provided each group with all the relevant data about the importation of beagles into their country and arranged the sharing of the undercover footage taken by Anima. Each group organized their own media release with their own press contacts, and we all launched the international exposé on the same day. The investigation and the images of the dogs as cargo inside Copenhagen Airport were published in newspapers, magazines, broadcasted in TV channels, and posted on social media platforms across Europe and the USA. We also worked with PETA USA in a letter-writing campaign urging SAS Airlines to stop importing animals for the vivisection industry. Since this exposé in August last year, we have confirmation that no beagles, next slide, that no beagles have been flown via Copenhagen Airport from the USA. We also have confirmations that no beagles have been imported into the UK since 21st of September 2023, when a small number of beagles were flown via Brussels Airport, but none since. According to the data we got in previous years, I'm going to use my fancy thing. Oh, it's not here. It's in the other slides. You can see that thousands of dogs were being imported every year. SAS Airlines have not given an official statement, but we know that they have not been flying beagles for animal testing since our campaign started. The disruption of this importation route caused by this exposé is yet another nail on the coffin for the vivisection industry worldwide, and we believe this international collaboration was a huge success. Today in this presentation, I'm giving you 3 examples of Camp Beagle experience of working with anti-vivisection groups from other countries. I have shown you how these international collaborations have brought benefits and positive outcomes for the overall fighting against animal testing worldwide, as well as strengthen our campaign to close down MBR ACAS and the campaigns of the groups that have collaborated with us. Even Camp Beagle is made up of a very small group of volunteers running this protest camp outside MBR ACAS. We have been able to reach farther and wider by forming these effective working relationships with other campaigning groups in 12 different countries. Tomorrow, me and John will be running a workshop where we will explain in more details many of the ways in which we have engaged with these anti-vivisection groups and ways in which individuals can also collaborate at an international level. And we very much look forward to be working with all of you, especially if your country has been mentioned today. John also will be showing Camp Beagle's investigative films today in the cinema. I believe it's at 5:30. And it's not to be missed out. How are we doing with time? Good? So we can do some questions. Thank you.
Okay, we have several minutes for questions. What questions do we have for Sole? What?
I've got a short call for action because on the 18th of September there's a small demonstration in Leuven in Belgium. You can check the animal rights, the organization Animal Rights website for that. That's in 12 days.
Yeah, that'll be great, actually. All of those countries are very heavily involved in the importation of beagles and monkeys.
Great, thank you. Questions or other comments?
Thank you so much for everything that you've done. For the people that live in the UK, what would you like them to do to help support you in any way that they can? What would you like everybody in this room to be doing?
Funny question. I always throw this question back with another question. What are you good at? There is no one answer to ending animal testing. If there was one answer, animal testing would be gone. So there are many angles. You can use political strategies, scientific reasons why it's not good, go for the cruelty angle. So it is more like, what is it that you're good at? Camp Beagle can use your skills in any way, shape, or form. We love people to come to camp. That for people abroad, you can have holidays at Camp Beagle, you are most welcome. We particularly like people coming to camp. We feel it's important for the individuals because it's all well me telling you how bad these dogs are. But when you are there, you can hear the dogs, you can smell the dogs, and it becomes a reality and a closer cause to your heart. And also because we are sometimes quite isolated on that road, and it's lovely to share some love and some cake with like-minded people.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. I was thinking that maybe the only way to end this is to find alternative methods. And there are already a lot of alternative methods to animal testing. So are you also kind of, I don't know, supporting anything in that field? I remember that end of 22, like in the US, the FDA Modernization Act was signed so that for pharmaceutical companies, it's allowed to also use alternative methods. So I think that might be on the other side, working on the other side of how to end this, because if you maybe close down one factory, another one opens in another place of the world. So yeah, my question is, are you also working on the other side?
I've been campaigning against animal testing since the 90s. And in fact, I kind of gave up for a period. And one of the many reasons why I gave up is because animal testing is so complicated. There are so many reasons, angles, political, financial, scientific, cruelty, that I just was, this is too complicated. I'm going to do another campaign, simpler. But actually, now that I've gone back to it, I have kind of turned it on its head and made this complication into something that enables us to campaign even better. So yes, by all means, non-animal methods are there ready to be used. The regulators and the government are dragging their feet behind, trying to validate them and to say, yes, these methods are okay. So yes, it is another angle that we also explore. We invited to one of our talks a woman that was here last year doing a talk about non-animal methods, and I believe you are doing a talk on non-animal methods in education. And she's also, so I feel that we all have to kind of niche on what are we better at, and we are outside of the breeding side, so we're always going for the cruelty angle, but touch upon all other aspects.
Hi, yeah, thanks for everything you're doing. I've just got a question. If you think the change in government in the UK is a positive thing, or do you see left and right all part of the same inertia?
Actually, they're all the same. We have found out that the difference is by individual MPs, members of parliament, they call them MPs in the UK. So we have individual MPs that are very outspoken against animal testing, from Conservatives, Labour, Liberals, Independent, Scottish Party. It is a case of individuals who have informed themselves, educate themselves. So that's why we have this political strategy. We want every campaigner to contact their MP and start educating them regardless of the party they're coming from. When we got this change in the debate, it is a drop on the ocean, let's be honest. But you sometimes need that very first step that's gonna make things roll behind it. And up to February this year, the only thing you could squeeze out of the government is there is nothing else we can do. We got the top standards in the world. We don't like animal testing. We don't want to do animal testing, but there is no other option. We have put so much, no, we are, as in Camp Beagle individually, the whole animal rights community and beyond has put so much pressure and education that they can no longer keep bullshitting us with that. So it's only words, it's only promises. The Labour Party that's now in government has included on their manifesto that they will also have this plan. We still haven't seen the plan. But just accepting that there has to be a plan, even if it's not there, is an important step, we believe.
We have time for one quick one.
Quick.
Hi, yeah, thank you for your work. It's amazing. And yeah, can you maybe give an idea to the audience what they can do to get more involved in this whole area? Because I think animal rights activists, many don't address animal experimentation because it's so complicated, because maybe they feel guilty because we all use drugs that were tested on animals. It is complicated, but there are resources out there, and I think we have to get more involved in this area.
I would say start by educating yourself. Contact groups like Doctor Against Animal Testing in Germany. There are big organizations, even PETA, all that have got loads of information. Start having some idea so that you can, even just having an idea on the numbers of millions of animals that are used, the huge diversity of animals used. You just can say endangered long-tailed macaques, and you look very good. So yeah, educate, and then just find your strain. You know, if you're good at engaging with MPs, please go and visit your MP regularly and write letters. If you're good at drawing, send us some drawings. We will put them on T-shirts and raise funds. The selection of ideas is really broad, but I will say, following from what you said, that back in the day, antivivisection was a very important part of the animal rights community. It fell off the wagon for many reasons, some of them our own faults, and hopefully it's coming back on the wagon. And I feel sometimes the vegan community, they sit on their high horse, which even is about non-vegan expression, apologies for that one, thinking, oh, that's it, I am eating, I'm not consuming any animal products. It has to go beyond that, guys. We have to take action.
Thank you so much. We have a thank you. We have a book recommendation and another book. We have Your Neighbor Kills Puppies by Tom Harris. Tom is here. Actually, he's selling these books in stall 1. So he's here during this conference. So go talk to him and check out his book. And we have another book recommendation here.
Yeah, there's an open access book that we initiated. It's called Animal Experimentation, Working Towards a Paradigm Change. And it's open access and it has tons of information. And I just think it's, get into it. Yeah, it's online. It's from Brill, published by Brill. Animal Experimentation, Working Towards a Paradigm Change.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Another hand for Soleil. Thank you, Soleil.